Okay, hello there. So today I am going to discuss scarcity. Okay, so before I delve into the meaning of scarcity, I would like to briefly define scarcity. Okay, so scarcity simply means having a shortage of something, or it could also be a situation where an item is rare. Okay, so in economics, scarcity simply refers to the fundamental economic problem of having limited resources to meet unlimited wants and needs. And this limitation or problem necessitates making choices about how to allocate resources effectively. Okay, so let me talk about the fundamental economic problem here. Okay, so remember the definition of economics is simply the efficient allocation of resources. Okay, so why do we need to efficiently allocate resources? We need to efficiently allocate resources because resources are scarce. If not for scarce resources, there wouldn't be a need for economics. Okay, so it's just economics. Economics is the science of choice. Okay, so it is the cornerstone. Scarcity is the cornerstone of economics. Okay, so usually in economics, we would study choices in a world of scarcity. So what that simply means is that you would analyze a consumer who needs to make a choice facing a budget constraint. Okay, so let's look at an example of scarcity. So in this example, we are going to consider a student called Nana. Okay, so Nana needs to choose between studying, working, and deciding on a leisure activity. Okay, so in Nana's case, the scarce resource will be time. Okay, so why is time a scarce resource? Time is a scarce resource because you have 24 hours in a day. Okay, you don't have infinity hours in a day. Okay, so because you have 24 hours in a day, in Nana's case, she needs to decide between studying, working, or choosing her favorite leisure activity. All right. So scarcity is usually juxtaposed with another concept called free resources. Okay, so what is a free resource? A free resource is a resource that is available without limit. Okay, so an example of such a resource will be air. Okay, so now let's discuss the key aspects of scarcity. Okay, so remember I said it is the fundamental economic problem of having limited resources. Okay, so what are some examples of these limited resources? Some examples of these limited resources include land, labor, capital, and raw materials, because these resources are finite. Okay, so let's look at labor as a finite resource. Okay, so we are going to consider the labor that works in my shoe factory. Okay, so I love fashion, so we are going to look at the labor that works in the Nana shoe factory. Okay, so in the Nana shoe factory, labor will be considered a scarce resource because the labor cannot spend all their time at my factory. Okay, they can only spend a limited amount of time at my factory. And besides that, they need technical know-how as to how to make the shoes. Okay, so that is how labor can be a finite resource or a scarce resource. Okay, so remember I said this limitation necessitates making choices about how to allocate resources effectively. Okay, so due to scarcity, individuals and societies must make choices about what to produce, how to produce, and for whom to produce. Now, these decisions involve trade-offs. Okay, so what that simply means is that one option means foregoing another option. So this leads to the concept of opportunity cost. Okay, so opportunity cost simply refers to the next best alternative for one. I wouldn't discuss that here. I'll discuss that in a separate video. Okay, so now that we've discussed what scarcity is all about, let's look at how scarcity can come about. Okay, so one factor that can lead to scarcity is rising demand. Okay, so how does rising demand lead to scarcity? Okay, so rising demand in the face of constant supply. Rising demand. It's not just rising demand. Rising demand in the face of constant supply leads to scarcity. So an example will be the rising demand for schools. Okay, when the number of schools hasn't increased. Okay, so that would lead to scarcity. Okay, so in this case, schools will be scarce because they can't accommodate all the children in the society. Okay, another way will be through supply. Okay, so how will this happen? This happens when supply for a resource diminishes. Okay, so an example will be overfishing in a water body. Okay, so if you overfish in a water body, the fish population will decline. Okay, and then fish will become scarce. Okay, so now let's look at some of the ways of addressing scarcity. Now, one of the key ways of addressing scarcity is to efficiently utilize your resources. Okay, so This could be in the form of implementing strategies to maximize output from limited resources. Okay, so an example here will be precision agriculture. So in this scenario, you'd use data, sensors, and GPS to optimize your crop production. Another way of addressing scarcity is through technological innovation. In this case, advancement in technology that can create alternatives to mitigate scarcity will be very useful. Okay, so an example of such technological advancements will be recycling of metals and plastics. And another way to address scarcity is through policy measures. Okay, so an example of a policy measure will be when the government enacts a no fishing day policy. Okay, so with a no fishing day policy, fishermen wouldn't fish in a water body, and this will allow the fish population to grow. Okay, so that's it for scarcity today. Thank you.